By this point in the new year, we have probably embarked on some new goals or some new processes. You will have probably found that some things are working, some things aren't. And this is a really important inflection point. This is the point when some stuff will have gone to plan, some stuff won't. And you get to decide whether you either compound what you've done by iterating, refocusing, or you slowly start to slip away from the goal, telling yourself it's not working or you're not working. So in today's episode, I'm going to talk about why February is a fabulous month to focus on one small process. I'm going to break down the difference between outcome goals and process goals. That is based on a listener question I had. And then I'm going to give you some very specific examples of easy processes that you can cultivate for the next 28 days. So stick around to the end of the episode for that part. I'm Maya Gudka, economist turned executive coach. And for the last 15 years, I have helped now thousands of brilliant leaders reduce the amount of overwork and get clear on what really lights them up. I had a listener question that was, should I be focusing right now on outcome goals or process goals? And I love this question because it gets to the heart of why goal setting can sometimes feel heavy. We often have an outcome in mind, and there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, that's part of the goal setting process. It might be a promotion, it might be a specific number, a shift that we want to see in our work, health, confidence, relationships, and it's an outcome. That's the vision bit, that's the North Star. But you get that outcome by choosing the right process and staying with it. I do react to the trust the process type language. Yes, I will trust the process, but first I need to check that it is the right process and that it's the right process for me, right? My personality type, my strengths, my way of working. And I need to test that. And January can be a great month for testing that. Let's say you've had some endeavors that have gone really well, but others that haven't. This is gold dust. This will help you learn how to tweak your processes for your specific life, for your specific way of being. And I love February for this because February is short, it's contained, and it's the perfect month to pick one of your processes and commit to it for 28 days and then see where you get to with that. And I really encourage you here not to pick 10 habits, not to try and overhaul everything, but from your goals or your intentions, look at one area. Or maybe it could be a couple in a couple of different domains. If it's hard to narrow down just one, fair enough. Then we want to do this consistently enough to really create that compounding effect and look at the end of February and see how far we've got. So let me start by explaining the difference between outcome goals and process goals and what the benefits are. And then we can get into what some specific process examples might be for you this month. So outcome goals are things like a promotion, a financial number or milestone, a body composition goal, a creative or professional result. And they absolutely matter, but we don't have full control of that outcome. And the degree of control we have will vary. Sometimes I see that high achievers, because they are so accountable, right? In organizations, they are seen as the people that will deliver the result. They take a high level of accountability. They have the opposite of a phrase that I learned from a client this week, which is slopey shoulders. Apparently, slopey shoulders means that people don't take accountability for things, right? My high achievers have the opposite problem. They're hyper accountable. Sometimes they mistakenly therefore think that they have more control of the outcome than they actually do. And this is where it can derail you, because it means that you might try and manage it like a process, over-specify timelines for achieving that outcome. You might tighten the grip. Then when the outcome doesn't materialize in those specified timeframes, you feel defeated. You might step back from the goal, or you might take it as a personal failing. Now, all of these things actually are counter to what we really want to achieve, which is those great outcomes. Does it matter if we're a bit more loose on the timings? In the grand scheme of things, no. But the problem is when we then want to start giving up, we question ourselves and we question whether we should even be doing the goal. So we keep outcomes lightly in view. They are important. I have a whole vision pillar of my work that is really thinking about those outcomes. But I make them so far in advance that we don't get hung up on when they show up. We then put our energy into processes that are fully within our control. I want to give you some tangible examples. These really should look almost too small, right? Because when you do them once, when you do them twice, they don't really seem like they're doing much. And it is that slow compounding that we're looking for, that 1% difference every day that snowballs once you look back at the end of a year. So a tiny example for me is doing a bit of food prep over and above what I used to do. In my case, I'm clearly behind the curve here, but it's actually soaking my oats and chia the night before so that I can make a really good breakfast the next day. Another example is the daily photo habit that I talked about last week, where I'm taking 5 minutes a day, really doable amount of time, to delete media off my phone and free up storage and make my photo memories more accessible and not overwhelming. In relation to your career visibility, you could do one reach out every day to somebody internally that is important for your career progress and the success of your team. Or you could do an external reach out. You could do a LinkedIn message or an email to somebody that you know is a friend in your sector, or somebody that you would love to reach out to. And again, this might only take 5 minutes, but it's going to compound over time. Another variation of that would be doing just one slightly more speculative reach out every day. I've been doing a small version of this actually without realizing it. So it is one that I would consider for February. That one kind of catches my attention. From the fitness perspective, it could be something really small, like doing 3 relevant Pilates exercises before you get out of the door on your walk or your run. That's actually another one that I have been toying with, and so it might be one that I build in this month. The other one that I do a lot with clients is some form of end of the day 3 good things. Now, this can be loads of things. It can be gratitude. It can be something you're proud of in your work, especially for my clients who feel that they are a little bit hard on themselves. This works wonders. And it's probably one of the only exercises that I very regularly specify with clients and that they commit to, and they come back to me saying this has made a surprising amount of difference. So you can do that in lots of ways. I do it as what made today special. I like that one because I feel that it helps me to remember special memories with my family. But typically, once I've written a couple of things, I end up highlighting a couple of other things that day that I've done that I'm really proud of. So it has a little bit of a momentum created around it. I also don't have a special journal for doing that right now. I just do it at the top of my daily page. So now I know that when I look back on these notebooks, all I'll really need to do is read the top lines, and that's going to give me a beautiful memory of that particular day. So those are some examples in maybe more of a health and wellness career perspective, but you could apply this to relationships as well. You could reach out to one friend every day, send them a short message, a note, or you could create an intentional moment with your partner, something as simple as taking the time to really make eye contact with them and acknowledge them at the end of a busy day. These are little things, so small. Hopefully they take under 5 minutes, but they will compound over time and change how connected your life feels. Another one that I love is micro planning. So taking just 1 minute a day, often the day before, to think about an area of your life that needs more attention. So let's say one goal that you've had that you never quite managed to get to the other side of is decluttering. The micro plan the day before is just specifying what actions you can realistically take the next day. It's very short term. You kind of know what's going on the next day, and you're not asking too much of yourself in terms of the planning. It could be a nutrition thing. So like I've said, I've been noting before I go to sleep, what do I need to do to make tomorrow easier? And for me, it is literally just soaking the oats in the chia. It could be that you're preparing for a tricky meeting or conversation the next day. And that could be the thing that you do a micro bit of planning for. So often these little things can create momentum and reduce mental load. So what I hope you've seen in all of these examples is that they're choosing a process that is within your control, that's small enough to repeat, but meaningful enough to compound. And you do not need to choose the hardest one. We are not here to win gold medals in how difficult we make things for ourselves. In fact, I'd really encourage you to pick the easy ones and see where it goes. That's why I love the photo one, because we're all prone to picking up our phones and checking it mindlessly. Now I've got an actual job to do on it. And it's a job that helps me reflect on past memories. It's often really funny because it contains funny videos in it. Kids love it. And it's making the tiniest progress. One thing that I like about it is that it's forcing me to go slower than is almost comfortable. And I take that from Laura Vanderkam, who talks about the 20-mile march, where she looked into some logs of some kind of expedition that took place. And the aim was to do 20 miles a day, not go over and not go under. And there's actually a lot of wisdom in that process, because sometimes when we start these things, we almost want to go too fast. We overshoot and then we burn out. In my case, if I do that exercise for too long, I literally go cross-eyed and it's horrible. So I have to limit myself. But on the flip side, I do know that if I do that little amount every day, it does add up and it makes my life easier in the future. So think about that process for yourself. If you're choosing between a couple of options, pick the easier one. Yeah, I'm here to give you permission to do the easy stuff. If it turns out to be so easy, then reach out to me at the end of February and pick another one. You've got many months in the year to do this, but starting with a shorter month might be a great way to see how this goes. So just to wrap up, we've had January. We've probably seen what worked and what didn't. And now we get to refine that and we get to channel it into a short month where we can really zoom in to one process. So if you choose a February process, I would love to know what it is. Drop me a note at info@mayagudka.com. And I'm wishing you a quietly powerful February, full of small, repeatable actions that compound over time. All right, I look forward to connecting with you next time. Bye-bye.